No, he wasn't right. The facts of this case are complex at the moment because of the complex nature of the legal entanglement into which this country has got itself. I would just put it this way. The Commission decided these two men were actively involved with Al-Qaeda. The security services cannot, they say, deliver this evidence in open court. It was delivered in closed session there. And so we're in a bind. And I just put it as follows. We're in a bind because we apparently cannot extradite these two young men, Pakistani nationals, who are wanting to harm, we're told, wanting to harm people in this country. We're not able to extradite them to Pakistan, their own country, in case they are tortured there. I would just put it this way. We are now going to have to pay for two Al-Qaeda associates to stay in this country to protect their human rights, defending their rights, I believe, over the rights of the people of this country. I think you have to look at this perfectly plainly, and I would say you can't put it any stronger than this. Any society that wanted to survive would not behave like this, would not defend their enemies over their own people, would not protect their enemies better than they protect their own people.
But it would send them away regardless.
Would send them away regardless.
And what happened.
If the new Home Secretary has any sense about this, and I very much hope she has, she'll realise that no government that wants to survive would behave like this.
All right.
It is preposterous to do that. I wish that Zebra and Majid were the spokespeople of Islam. It would be lovely, although in Majid's case it would have taken rather too long if everyone had to go for 14 years preaching the downfall of America and then said, no, not so much. But we are where we are. Anyhow, I wish they spoke for Islam. It would be great. But the fact is that tonight, the organisers of this debate asked a number of clerics. None of them would show. Specifically, they wouldn't show and debate against Ayaan Hirsi Ali. Myself, I don't think they cared. But no, it's very interesting that they will not debate. Time and again, the actual leaders of your religion will not debate this. And you're left with people like we have here. The reason why is, of course, is that the leaders of the religion show such terrible lessons. It is not a small thing. It's not, as it were, a detail. It's not like a wacky Florida pastor. That you've got the largest Sunni state of Saudi Arabia, the most important Sunni state in the world, the most extraordinary closed prison of a society. It's not a detail, it's not a one-off nut job. The Shiite Republic of Iran is what it is, led by the people it's led by. That is not an accident, it's not a detail. The thing that worries me is that although tonight we hear from the fellow panelists here about how Islam is a religion of peace, the fact is that the people who are making the decisions in the religion, the people who are preaching in the religion, the heads of that religion, people like Sheikh Qaradawi, who broadcasts anti-Semitic, the most appalling filth every week on the main networks, that is the faith that's speaking for you guys. I wish that, Zeba, you were on every week on Al Jazeera, but you're not. Qaradawi is.
Multiculturalism.
You know, Douglas is right on point. Going to the first one where he talks about, you know, they want to extradite those two Islamist fundamentalist terrorists back to Pakistan. But the Pakistan government, okay, won't extradite. So now you have to keep them in your own country and house them and clothe them and feed them and let them watch, you know, give them 3 squares a day and the cost of the, you know, the court and everything, trying to find what to do. And Douglas is right. Why is it that, and this happens across here on the pond in the United States of America, that more rights are given to the people who perpetrate the crime, perpetrate the action, perpetrate the murders, the rapes, the robberies, the assaults, all of that, the terrorist acts. And the victims, they're the ones that are treated as if they're the perpetrator, with no regard to their feelings whatsoever. We have to protect the rights of the criminals more than the rights of the citizens. Folks, that's just unrealistic for any society to continue. And we are going down a very dark, deep path here in the United States of America with so many things that are happening. Cashless bail. Oh, you can rob up a store up to $950 before it's considered a felony. Otherwise, it's a misdemeanor. And then nobody comes out there anyways. Look at the large cities that's happening in the United States of America. Stores are closing. Restaurants are closing. Pharmacies are closing because of the lack of giving the victims protection, but allowing the perpetrators to flourish and grow and continue. And then, in fact, in terms of him talking just about not enough, minority voices or other voices, moderate voices within the Muslim and the Islamic community, that's for a variety of reasons. I think the biggest one is fear, because the number one violence that occurs is Muslim extremists, Muslim fundamentalists, Islamist fundamentalists perpetrating crimes on other Muslims that they feel aren't Muslim enough or Islamist enough for them. So I think fear is a huge motivating factor. People just say, it's not worth, I'm not getting involved. And the other is that I think the moderates are speaking out, it's just that they're not getting any playtime on the air, social media. It's much better for these social media outlets, these alphabet networks, to get the one kook, the one off, the guy that's making the most noise, the minority, the Islamist, the fundamentalist, this, wannabe terrorist or whatever, and put his stuff out there to basically, foment and to fear monger and those kind of things, and to portray, that entity and those type of, subhuman values, that are coming out of a nut job, whack job, Islamist, fundamentalist, wannabe, rather than put on, somebody who like Majid Nawaz or Zeba or whatever, who are very moderate and are basically, trying to counter this narrative, that's against them. Anyways, folks, that's what's on tap for you today. You're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nasir, where I give you my political prescription from my political perspective of what happens when you get the best of Douglas Murray. We're going to get back to him in just a little bit. But before we do, let's go to this clip right now.
This practice has been a disaster. It's been a profound disaster. The rule of law of the British state is not up for negotiation. The rule of law across the West and Western tradition is not up for negotiation. And if you think that multiculturalism is something which somehow is going to be a universal world civilization, I would ask you simple questions. How's multiculturalism going in Saudi Arabia right now? Why building a synagogue or even praying to the non-Muslim God in Saudi Arabia or across many countries in that region? It doesn't happen, i.e. there's no reciprocity. On the other hand, here, just a few months ago, Justice Minister of the Netherlands, Piet Hein Donner, announced that when a majority of people wanted it, he was willing to institute Sharia law across the Netherlands. Now, on current demographics, that majority isn't too far away. What will the Netherlands look like when that happens? What will this country look like if people in this country go along with that idea as well? The point is that there is an answer to this. We keep the moderates and encourage the moderates to be on our side and to believe in the rule of law and the strength of the state. But the state at the moment here and in the West is not looking strong. It is looking weak. It is looking weak because leaders and others, like the Mayor of London, claim and are seen to be claiming across the world that this is our fault, that it is our problem. I say we should be giving up another side, which is to say to people, this is a city with people of all different faiths, all different nationalities, and that is fine, but there are norms which you agree to. We are not giving out that message. We should be saying clearly, the Mayor of London should be saying far more clearly and far more regularly, there are some things that are not open for negotiation.
Absolutely.
Not have Sharia, there are countries you could have it, sadly, but this will not be one of them.
Multiculturalism is not about equality. It is about treating people absolutely differently. It's saying if you have a tribal norm in your area, we will make you obey that, or allow you to continue obeying that. Well, we know where that leads. It led, among other things, to the stoning of Goffrin Hadoui in Marseille in 2004 for breaking no law of the French state, but just refusing the advances of a young Muslim man in her area. That's where we end up. This is a fundamental problem, and it's one we're going to have to deal with. It's a problem between a society, Western Europe, that believes that laws are based on reason, and Islam that believes that they are based on revelation. Between these two ideas, I'm not sure there is very much compromise for Europe. It is not Europe that has let down its Muslims, but the Muslims of Europe that have let down Europe. This is not solely something which we have to say we can never reconcile. Of course we can reconcile this, but we need to be honest about it. We need to be frank about it, and we cannot avoid things just because they are unpleasant. And if there were one thing I would wish Muslims in Europe could learn today, as fast as possible, it would be this: that you have no right in this society not to be offended. You have no right to say that because you don't like something you can commit violence, or you would like something to be stopped or censored. You have no right to have more hate laws or hate crime laws or hate speech laws just to defend Islam. You have to realize, the Muslims of Europe have to realize, that a society in which even your deepest feelings can be trodden upon is the only society worth living in. And the sooner we can learn that, the sooner that Islam can learn that within Europe, the better. It is not Europe that has failed its Muslims. It is Islam that has failed Europe. I'd argue Islam has failed its Muslims. Thank you.
You know, Douglas saying that there might be a way to reconcile Islamic law and jurisprudence with Western democracies. I just don't think that's possible. Because when he said that Western democracies and the rule of law is based on reason, whereas Islamic law is based on revelation, that really is the crux of the matter. You have a separation of church and state within Western democracies, a fundamental tenet of the Constitution of the United States, the First Amendment, our Bill of Rights, that you can't be coerced into any type of religion, and that government can't force a religion upon you, and that there has to be a separation between any type of religious doctrine and government entities. That's just not in the Islamic faith. That's just not there. Everything is together. It's all there. You look into the Quran, you look into Hadith, you look into all the other jurisprudence, the laws of Sharia, the governmental laws, societal laws, divorce laws, marriage laws. I mean, any and everything that can be applied in a society. Some would say the answers are within the scope of the Islamic religion. Now, if the Islamic religion is basically saying that there's no separation between church and state, what happens to First Amendment? What happens to freedom of speech, freedom of expression? There will be limitations. How can this be reconciled in the West, in America, in Great Britain, European democracies, Western democracies? How? Like he talked about that prime minister saying that eventually the Netherlands, if it becomes a choice and the majority wants Sharia law, he'll have it. Well, then the Netherlands will become probably a Muslim country. White-centric Muslim, but majority, that's what's going to happen. And if that's the way that Europe, and if that's the way the dominoes are going to fall, then that's the way the dominoes are going to fall. But it is just a precursor that when people start to acquiesce to this type of illogic, it has severe ramifications, down the road. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, we'd love for you to subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow. So you all know what to do. Take a look at our video links above and below. Comment, share with us as well. My final thought is always, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.